When you imagine marriage, you think of partnership, two people holding each other through storms and celebrating each other's victories. But living with a narcissistic husband is not a partnership. It's a slow unraveling of who you are, hidden behind closed doors. In the beginning, life with a narcissistic husband often feels like a dream. He showers you with attention, compliments, and devotion. You might even think you've found the person who finally sees you. This stage, what some call love bombing, is intoxicating. It feels like safety, like passion, like destiny. But what feels like love is often the foundation of control. Slowly, the shift begins. The same man who once praised your independence now criticizes your choices. He questions who you talk to, how you spend your time, even how you dress. At first, it feels subtle, like he's just being protective or attentive. But soon you realize those gestures were not love. They were early signs of ownership. And here lies the heartbreak. The very qualities that drew him to you, your warmth, your laughter, your uniqueness, are the ones he now tries to suppress. The illusion of unconditional love unravels, replaced by conditions, demands, and unspoken rules. Control masquerades as love when he says, "I just care about you too much," or "I only want what's best for us." But beneath those words lies a desire to shrink you, to mold you into someone who serves his ego. This is the first devastating truth of living with a narcissistic husband. You realize the love you thought you had was never about partnership. It was about possession. And once the illusion breaks, the loneliness of that discovery cuts deeper than any argument ever could. One of the most painful realizations in living with a narcissistic husband is the loss of your own voice. In the beginning, you might feel free to express your thoughts, share your dreams, even disagree without fear. But over time, your words stop mattering. Every opinion you offer is met with dismissal. That's not true. Every feeling you share is minimized. You're overreacting. Every boundary you try to set is bulldozed. Don't be ridiculous. At first, you argue back. You try harder to explain, to be understood. You pour out your heart, hoping he'll hear you. But soon, you realize it doesn't matter how carefully you speak, how calm you stay, how much evidence you bring. Your truth is not welcome in his world. And so you begin to adapt. You shrink your words. You tell yourself it's not worth the fight. You rehearse conversations in your head, trying to predict how he'll twist them. Eventually, silence becomes survival. You sit at the dinner table with thoughts screaming inside your mind, but your lips stay closed. The silence is not just external, it seeps inward. You begin to silence yourself before he even has the chance. You censor your feelings, edit your needs, and slowly lose connection to your own inner voice. And this is perhaps the most heartbreaking part. When you live long enough without being heard, you start to believe you have nothing worth saying. This truth isn't just about him silencing you. It's about how his constant dismissal conditions you to silence yourself. That loss is devastating because your voice is more than words. It is your identity, your power, your humanity. And when it's stripped away, the relationship becomes less about love and more about control through erasure. But here's the quiet hope hidden inside this truth. Even if your voice feels buried, it is never destroyed. The whispers inside you, the truth you still carry, that is yours. And reclaiming it is one of the most powerful acts of freedom you'll ever take. One of the most heartbreaking aspects of living with a narcissistic husband is how emotional abuse slowly becomes part of your normal. It doesn't start with obvious cruelty. It begins with subtle comments, sharp criticisms masked as jokes, or offhand remarks that sting but are brushed aside. He might say something cutting in public, then laugh and tell you, "Don't be so sensitive, I was only joking." He may explode in anger one night, then buy you flowers the next morning and act as though nothing ever happened. And at first you resist. You know it's wrong. You push back, you cry, you tell him it hurt. But over time, your reactions begin to change. The constant cycle of cruelty and denial wears you down. You stop expecting kindness. You stop demanding accountability. You tell yourself, this is just how he is, or it's not that bad, others have it worse. Slowly, the extraordinary pain becomes ordinary life. This normalization is dangerous because it reshapes your understanding of love. You begin to accept the unacceptable. The bar for how you deserve to be treated drops lower and lower until mistreatment feels routine. What once would have shocked you becomes something you brush off. What once would have broken you becomes something you quietly endure. And here is the cruelest part. Emotional abuse doesn't just distort your relationship, it distorts your self-image. You start believing the lies he feeds you. You're too needy. You're impossible to please. You're lucky I put up with you. Those words carve deep grooves into your heart, grooves that make it harder and harder to recognize your worth. Yet deep inside, a quiet truth remains. Love should never make you feel small. Respect should never feel conditional. And even when abuse becomes normalized in your marriage, there is still a part of you that knows this is not love, this is control. That flicker of awareness, however faint, is the first step toward reclaiming yourself. Living with a narcissistic husband often feels like walking on eggshells. You learn very quickly that every word, every action, every small decision could trigger anger, criticism, or silent resentment. It's exhausting, and yet it becomes your new reality. You start to measure yourself constantly. How should you phrase this sentence? Will he like the way I cooked dinner tonight? Is my tone too sharp? Did I laugh too loudly? Every gesture is calculated, as though you are navigating a minefield where one misstep could set off an explosion. This hypervigilance is not just emotional, it's physical. Your heart races before you even speak. Your stomach tightens when you anticipate a confrontation. And every day the tension builds until it feels like you are living under a storm cloud that never passes. The cruel irony is that you are never truly safe. Even the smallest perceived misstep can be met with disproportionate anger or silent punishment. And when you try to stand your ground, you may be met with manipulation, guilt, or more anger. The environment is unpredictable, yet you learn to adapt to it, thinking survival means compliance. Walking on eggshells changes who you are. You may start doubting your instincts, questioning your right to exist freely, and second-guessing every thought before it's even spoken. The natural joy of spontaneity, laughter, and authenticity slowly erodes, replaced by constant caution and fear. And yet, recognizing this pattern is also a crucial step toward freedom. The very act of naming the fear, of acknowledging the hypervigilance, is a form of resistance. It is your heart reminding you that you deserve safety, that your voice, your presence, your laughter, and your peace matter. Perhaps one of the most insidious truths about living with a narcissistic husband is the experience of gaslighting. It starts subtly, almost imperceptibly. He contradicts your memory of events, denies promises he made, or tells you that your feelings are too dramatic. Or the pain of gaslighting is unique because it attacks your most fundamental sense of self. It's not just about being wrong in an argument. It's about being made to doubt your own existence, your memories, and your sanity. And the cruelty lies in the manipulation. He positions himself as the arbiter of truth, while you are left questioning your very ability to know what is real. Gaslighting isolates you further. You may begin to hide feelings or second-guess yourself around friends and family, worrying that you overreact or misunderstand. Slowly, your inner compass, the voice that once guided you, is muffled. You start looking outward for validation in places that can never truly provide it because your reality has been hijacked. Yet even in the midst of this confusion, there is hope. Awareness is the first crack in the illusion. When you recognize gaslighting for what it is, a deliberate distortion meant to control, you reclaim a piece of your power. Trusting your perception again, even in small moments, is an act of courage. It is a declaration that your reality matters, that your mind belongs to you, and that no one, no matter how close, has the right to make you doubt yourself. One of the most quietly devastating truths about living with a narcissistic husband is the sense of profound loneliness, even when you are physically together. You share a home, a bed, meals, and routines, but the connection, the emotional intimacy is absent. It's a solitude that pierces deeper than physical isolation because it is wrapped in the very place where you should feel most loved. He may be beside you, yet entirely absent. Conversations feel one-sided. Your words fall into a void where they are ignored, twisted, or met with indifference. You reach out emotionally, hoping for understanding, empathy, or comfort, only to be met with criticism, coldness, or deflection. This loneliness is compounded by the constant need to protect yourself. You learn to suppress your desires, mask your pain, and hide your authentic feelings because revealing them risks anger or dismissal. In a relationship meant to be a sanctuary, you are left carrying your burdens alone. The paradox is painful. Living with someone does not always mean being seen. You might laugh together, attend family events, or maintain appearances, but inside your heart feels invisible. You long for connection, for acknowledgement, for someone to recognize your pain. And the hardest part is knowing that the very person who should provide this cannot or will not. Yet recognizing this loneliness is also a form of awakening. Naming it, feeling it, and acknowledging it is the first step toward reclaiming your emotional life. True companionship, real intimacy, begins not with him, but with yourself. And when you nurture yourself, honor your feelings, and create your own sanctuary, you reclaim a piece of the connection that was stolen from you. Living with a narcissistic husband slowly chips away at your sense of self. It rarely happens overnight. Instead, it's a quiet, persistent erosion that happens with every insult disguised as humor, every criticism framed as concern, and every small dismissal that accumulates over time. You begin to believe the subtle messages, you're not good enough, you always overreact, or no one else would put up with you. Words, actions, and attitudes that once might have stung temporarily now settle into your identity. You start to internalize them, weaving them into the fabric of how you see yourself. The loss of self-worth isn't just emotional, it affects every corner of your life. You doubt your decisions, question your instincts, and diminish your own achievements. The dreams you once held may feel impossible, unworthy, or irrelevant. You may and start comparing yourself to others, feeling less than, because his constant need to dominate and belittle has taught you that you are never enough. This erosion can leave you feeling trapped. Pow. One of the cruelest realities of living with a narcissistic husband is how hope keeps you chained to the very person who is hurting you. Despite the pain, despite the repeated cycles of cruelty, you cling to the belief that he might change. You remember moments of charm, tenderness, or rare kindness and tell yourself, maybe this is the real him, maybe things will get better. This hope is seductive because it taps into the deepest human longing, the desire to be loved, to be valued, to be seen. You replay memories of better times, exaggerate his apologies, and convince yourself that the next moment will bring the love and connection you crave. You tell yourself, I can fix this, I can help him, I can make us work. But the harsh truth is that narcissistic behavior is a pattern, not a temporary phase. Every improvement is often fleeting, a tactic to regain control, and the cycle inevitably repeats. Yet hope keeps you coming back, waiting for a love that may never arrive, and slowly eroding the boundaries you once held sacred. The danger of hope in this context is that it masks reality. It convinces you to tolerate abuse, accept excuses, and ignore red flags. You may rationalize, justify, and minimize his behavior, all while denying the truth your heart already knows, that this relationship is not safe, and that you deserve more than moments of conditional love. And yet, even in this painful trap, hope can transform. When you redirect it inward, toward your own growth, healing, and self-respect, it becomes the very thing that frees you. Hope then stops being a chain and becomes a lifeline, guiding you toward the courage to reclaim your life and your freedom. The final heartbreaking truth about living with a narcissistic husband is that freedom is both terrifying and essential. Leaving or even emotionally detaching is rarely easy. It can feel like tearing apart. The life you've known, like walking into a void where certainty once existed. You may feel grief for the dreams that will never come true, guilt for the time lost, and fear of facing life alone. But here's the paradox. Staying keeps you trapped, and the cost of staying is far greater than the pain of leaving. The moment you reclaim your boundaries, your voice, and your self-respect, you take the first step toward healing. Freedom